Why? So today we're going deep on something pretty personal. And I
Hmm.
think for a lot of people out there, it's something that they've either been through or know someone who has been through. We're talking divorce. And we're going way beyond the legal stuff, the paperwork, all that. We want to get into the messy emotional side, the aftershocks, the way it can like totally reshape who you are.
Yeah. And to help us navigate all of that,
Yeah.
we've got this amazing conversation between Sam and Nandi on their podcast, Healing Conversations.
Hmm.
They're both talking really openly about their own experiences with divorce, which is incredibly valuable. I mean, firsthand perspective on this kind of thing is just, it's so powerful.
It is. And that's exactly why we want to dig into what they have to say. What are some of the key things we can learn about the emotional journey of divorce? Like, how do you even start to piece your life back together after something like that? How do you heal and how do you redefine yourself? So, Nandi talked about this feeling of being fundamentally changed by divorce. Like, it wasn't just a thing that happened to her, it actually changed her at her core. Why do you think that feeling is so common? I mean, so many people seem to feel that way.
I think what happens is that divorce doesn't just end a legal partnership. It like dismantles this whole shared reality that you've built with someone.
Yeah.
For years, maybe decades, your identities are intertwined, your lives are completely enmeshed, and then suddenly you're forced to confront yourself outside of that unit. You're not part of a we anymore. And that loss of the other person as this constant presence in your life, that's what can make it feel so earth-shattering.
Right, like you've lost your mirror almost.
Exactly.
And Sam talked about this really striking image of silence after his partner moved out, just this sudden quiet and this huge what now hanging in the air.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we structure our lives around another person.
It's the routines, right? It's the shared spaces. It's even just the unspoken understandings. All of that vanishes or changes drastically. And you're thrown back on yourself in a way you haven't been for a long time. So yeah, you're faced with this fundamental reevaluation of everything. Who am I now? What am I doing? Where am I going?
I thought Nandi's example of the grocery store was so powerful. She said she realized she didn't even know what she liked to eat anymore because she'd been shopping for two for so long.
Oh,
It's those little everyday things that really show you how deeply intertwined your lives become.
yeah, it's a perfect illustration of this concept of merged identities in a relationship. Over time, your individual preferences can get absorbed into the couple's habits and tastes, and then divorce forces you to rediscover those individual preferences. It really highlights how much of yourself can become integrated into the we of the marriage.
So it's no wonder then that there's this major element of identity loss in divorce, and that the process of rebuilding that identity can be really long and difficult. Nandi talked about going from Mrs. So-and-so to just being Nandi again. That must be such a profound shift.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, especially after a long marriage, being Mrs. or Mr. becomes a huge part of how they see themselves and how the world sees them. So letting go of that title can be really disorienting. It's almost like shedding a skin, and you're left feeling vulnerable and having to actively figure out who you are as an individual again. Like Nandi's moment of realizing that just being me is enough. That's a powerful step in reclaiming that individual identity.
But getting to that point is a process, and Sam was really honest about how messy that process can be. He described it as an emotional roller coaster: anger, regret, sadness, guilt, even relief, all mixed up together.
Right.
And it sounds incredibly draining. Why are those emotions so intense and so all over the place after a divorce?
Well, you have to remember that divorce isn't just the end of a legal agreement. It's often the loss of dreams, shared history, a future you thought you would have. It's a lot to process. So those intense and shifting emotions are just a reflection of that. You're grieving multiple layers of loss while also trying to adjust to a completely new reality. And all of that takes time.
And it's not just the big, obvious emotional moments, right? Nandi mentioned crying during a TV commercial that showed a happy family, and Sam said he avoids things like weddings and love songs and Valentine's Day. Why do those little things, those triggers hit so hard?
I think those small triggers often tap into memories and associations that are really deeply ingrained, from the marriage and from your expectations about what your life would be like. They're these sudden reminders of what you've lost or what feels impossible now.
Yeah.
And they can catch you off guard and really highlight how much the divorce is still affecting you.
Both Sam and Nandi emphasized the importance of their support systems. Nandi talked about friends who were there for her without trying to fix things, which I think is really important. What's the difference between helpful support and unhelpful support during a divorce?
It's all about the intention, I think. Helpful support is about empathy and validation. It's about listening without judgment, offering a safe space to express emotions, just being present. Unhelpful support often comes from good place, but it can end up feeling like pressure to move on or unsolicited advice or taking sides, and all of that can make someone feel like their experience isn't valid.
Right, and Sam called his therapist the real MVP. It sounds like having that dedicated space to process everything was really crucial for him. Why is therapy such a helpful tool for navigating divorce?
Therapy provides this structured, confidential environment where you can explore all the complex emotions, thoughts, and behaviors that come up during and after divorce. A therapist can offer guidance, coping strategies, and help you reflect on your experiences in a way that friends and family might not be able to. It gives you a chance to really delve into those difficult emotions and figure out healthier ways to move forward.
And something I think is so important that Nandi said is that healing isn't linear. There are good months and bad months, and that's totally normal. Why is it so crucial to understand that healing doesn't just go straight up?
Because if you think healing is supposed to be this steady upward climb, you're going to be really discouraged when you inevitably have a setback. But setbacks are normal, they're part of the process. Understanding that helps you be more compassionate with yourself and have more realistic expectations. It's not about failing, it's about acknowledging that it's a journey with ups and downs.
Sam also talked about the pressure to get over it quickly and how damaging that can be. He said there's no timeline for this and no finish line. I think a lot of people feel that pressure, though, like they should be bouncing back right away. What are some of the downsides of rushing the healing process?
Well, when you rush it, you might end up suppressing your emotions, relying on unhealthy coping mechanisms, and ultimately having a recovery that's superficial instead of genuine. You need to allow yourself the time and space to fully process your grief and learn from the experience. Otherwise, it can have a ripple effect on your future relationships and your overall well-being. Taking the time to heal properly is an investment in your long-term emotional health.
It's not all doom and gloom, though. Both Sam and Nandi talked about divorce as an opportunity for reinvention, self-love, and finding peace. That's a pretty big shift in perspective. What do you think allows people to see it that way?
Time definitely plays a role. As the initial shock and the really intense emotions start to fade, you have more space to reflect. And I think as you reflect, you start to recognize maybe some unmet needs or suppressed desires that were present in the relationship. That awareness can be really powerful. It can fuel a desire for positive change and self-discovery.
Like Sam getting back into hiking, which he'd given up on because his ex-partner didn't enjoy it. Or Nandi traveling solo and reconnecting with the person she was before the marriage.
Exactly. It's about rediscovering those passions, those parts of yourself that might have been put on hold. And when you start engaging in activities that bring you joy and connect you with your authentic self, that can be so empowering. It helps you rebuild your sense of purpose and well-being as an individual outside of the context of your former relationship.
And there's this amazing realization of their own strength and independence, too. They've been through something so incredibly challenging and come out on the other side. What does that do for you? How does overcoming something like divorce help you grow?
Well, it builds resilience for sure. And self-confidence. You develop a much deeper understanding of your own capabilities. When you navigate those difficult emotions and rebuild your life on your own, you realize how strong you are. You learn that you can cope with whatever life throws at you. It's a real testament to the human spirit.
I love the encouragement they offered listeners who might be going through this. You're not broken, you're not too much, it's not too late to start over.
Yeah.
Those are such important messages to hear. Why do you think those affirmations are so crucial for someone going through a divorce?
Because divorce can be so isolating, and it can really chip away at your self-worth. You might start to doubt yourself, feel ashamed, hopeless even. Those affirmations are like a direct antidote to that. They offer validation hope, a reminder that your divorce doesn't define you, it doesn't limit your future. Hearing those messages can be incredibly powerful in shifting those negative self-perceptions and fostering a more positive outlook.
Nandi's emphasis on self-compassion resonated with me. Allowing yourself time to grieve and seeking support, and this idea that you can build a new life while still grieving the old one. It's not about erasing the past, but building something new alongside it. How do you balance those two things?
I think the key is acceptance and integration. You have to acknowledge the loss and allow yourself to grieve. That's essential for healing. But at the same time, you can start taking small positive steps towards building a new future. That gives you a sense of agency and hope. It's about holding both realities, the pain of the past and the potential of the future, without judging yourself for either one.
And they both ended on this note of hope about the possibility of loving again, but emphasizing that it starts with loving yourself. That feels really important.
It is. Cultivating self-love and self-acceptance is the foundation for healing and for building healthy relationships in the future. It shifts your focus from seeking validation from others to nurturing a positive relationship with yourself. And that creates a much stronger, more resilient foundation for any connections you make going forward.
This deep dive into Sam and Nandi's experiences has been so insightful. Their willingness to share such a vulnerable part of their lives is really a gift.
It is. And I hope that by listening to their reflections, you've gained a deeper understanding of what divorce can feel like. Maybe you've found some resonance with your own experiences or those of someone you know, and hopefully you're leaving with a renewed sense of hope for healing and new beginnings.
So as you think about everything we've talked about today, think about your own capacity for healing and for creating new chapters in your life. No matter where you find yourself right now, let Sam and Nandi's story remind you that even when life throws you a curveball, you have the strength and the potential to rediscover yourself and create something new and beautiful.
Hmm.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
See you next time.